Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Tree Spirit Challenge. This is now episode 5, and I think last episode we did the crops. We sorted out our food situation. We now have wheat growing, we now have beetroot growing, we have carrots, we have potatoes, and as you can see on screen, the size has increased a little. That's because I've been doing a little bit off-camera work, mostly tree farming, and I just did a bit of crop farming here and there where I can. It's not yet at full capacity as you can see, but we're not far off, and I'll be doing some for what we've got in mind today. So what we have today is animal farming. That's right, animals are a massive plus in this game and are something we need to progress further. We need sheep for the wool to make more beds for the village breeder. We have cows for things like leather, which we can use for books, bookshelves, etc. We have chickens for feathers, which I think are used for fireworks, etc. And then we have pigs, which pigs are pretty useless, everyone knows that, but we're going to use pigs for food. Although to be fair, with the amount of other animals I'm breeding, when I do end up collecting the raw meat from their carcasses, naturally deceased carcasses, I'm sure that will be more than enough food to keep us busy. Plus we have the crops, and the crops are brilliant because they're going to be keeping us fed, they're going to be keeping the animals fed, which is why I wanted to get the crops done before the animals. And now the crops are done, we can now move on to the animals. So in terms of area, I wasn't particularly sure where I was going to put them. The crop farm was pretty easy deciding where that was going to go, but the animal agriculture area, again, I do want fairly close to the base because I don't want to have to travel far off, and I want them to be breeding when I'm doing chores like, I don't know, tree farming, crop farming, etc. And so having them close to the base would be brilliant, but if I have them too close, then I'm going to hear animal noises all the time, and after a while it gets annoying. So I think this is going to be the area we set up in. As you can see, it's relatively close to the base. It's only about 20 blocks away, but it's still relatively flat that we can work with this area. We can turn it into what we need. It's going to be quite a bit of clearing we are going to have to clear out still a lot of dirt, a lot of the surrounding trees, fill in some of the water, but once we're done it's going to be massively useful for us. I just want to give you guys an example of how noisy these animals are. I know most of you have played Minecraft, if not all of you, and so you'll know, but it's just good to clarify. As you can see behind me, we have a pen of an array of animals: sheep, cows, pigs, chickens, etc. and they represent our animal agriculture area, our animal farm. At the moment you can't really hear too much because of our distance. However, once we start to get closer, we're going to find that their volume increases dramatically as such. Yep, and now listen, it is much noisier. It is harder to think, harder to hear me. It is what it is. It comes with the territory. I know I can turn them down, but I prefer to have friendly mobs turned up because I like to be able to hear them within the game. It takes something away if you have it turned right down or turned off completely, in my opinion. For a lot of people, not really. So having them a slight distance away where you can't hear them, but close enough where you can reach them with ease is where we're going to go. Alright, so we've done a bit of work to the area. As you can see, we have now got a bit of an outline going on. This outline here is basically us deciding how large the area is going to be, because at the moment I have no idea. I do want to keep sheep, cows, pigs and chickens, as you know, so obviously we're going to have space for 4 pens. I want 4 separate pens rather than, say, a mixture or a bundle of them all together. It's just going to make breeding a lot easier and collecting materials from them a lot easier. So that means we're going to have space for each pen. And so what I did is used some fences just to outline the corners of each pens, just so we can get an idea of how large the area is going to be, and from there we've built out a perimeter of logs around that to fit the entire area in. It did take a bit of a while, but knowing how large an area is going to be and knowing where to put stuff, it will save time in the future, because if I just go in all guns blazing and place them wherever, I may need to move stuff around towards the end of the build, and that's going to be kind of heart destroying, especially after you've done, like, say, 2 or 3 hours work, to then have to undo it by moving things around, digging up again. It's just easier to get all the foundations and layouts done now in the early stages, and then we can focus on just filling in and clearing out areas. As you can see, it's a fairly large area. It's larger than our crop farm, I'd say, but maybe of a similar size to the tree farm. I don't know, it's going to take a lot of work. I think most of the work is going to come in the form of me clearing out dirt and cobblestone, but we have more than enough stone to fuel our stone tools, so it shouldn't shouldn't be a problem. It just takes a bit of time. I do feel vulnerable though being out here now that we're no longer surrounded by like a safety fence as we are in the main part of the base. It does feel a lot more dangerous, and especially because we don't have armor. If a creeper was to drop down, then we're done for. The other mobs I'm not too fussed about. Yes, skeletons, zombies, baby zombies, yeah, they can all kill me, but they have sounds that come with them, sounds that will alert me to their presence, whereas a creeper I won't know until it's exploded on me. So I am kind of wary moving through this, but as long as I sleep before it gets too dark, then it should be fine. There shouldn't be any that spawns, and we should be safe. Okay, and so fast forward a little bit, we are back. As you can see, we still have the outline, the area is not filled out, but what we have done is we have placed strips of logs running the entire length of, or width, however you want to look at it, of the new animal agriculture area, and we have several strips spaced out, I don't know, about 3 or 4 blocks a piece. What this is doing is because obviously we are bound to where our heart tree is placed, or how far our heart tree extends. We can only stay connected to the logs. There are a lot of blocks within the area that I can't reach to clear out or place. So because of that, what I'm doing is I like to build things in stages, is I've placed lots of strips of logs. I've had to clear out some area, had to place a strip, then move on a few blocks, place another strip, move on a few blocks, place another strip. And so what this is doing is, because we now have strips running across the entire length or width of the area, we are now in a position where we can pretty much reach any block if we want to. And seeing as I would like to clear out all of the blocks that we don't need, having these strips is going to enable us to do that, because I can just move down each of the strips, mine out like 3 or 4 blocks worth while still connected to the heart tree, because that's how far my reach is. I think our reach for tools is about 5 blocks away, so I can reach all of the blocks, and then any blocks I can't reach I move on to the next strip, and I do that, and I keep going until all of the dirt, all of the cobblestone is completely removed. That is the tactic we're going with until this area is flattened out. Then we're going to have a much better idea of the size of the area and whether or not we want to keep it this size, expand it a little bit. We have to have a look, but we're going to move into a time lapse because we have got quite a bit of dirt and cobblestone to remove. So we're going to move into a time lapse of me removing it, and then I will join you back in a few minutes to double check that the dimensions are going to be correct. Okay, and we're back in the area and it looks a lot different now. As you can see, we can clearly see the corners of the fences outlining each of the pens for the animals, and we have an idea now how large an area this is going to be. As you can see, it is actually pretty large. I mean, we still have a lot of things we need to clear out. There's no doubt there's still this dirt that needs clearing out over here. We have trees that are everywhere, and we still need to clear out a lot of the dirt and a lot of the cobblestone in the floor to place logs. But for the time being, we have a much better idea of how big this area is going to be, and I've got to say, I do think this is an appropriate size for what we've got going on. It should fit everything nicely, and we do have space to place a fence round the outside to ensure we're safe. As you can see, we have the fences, and then we have a few blocks on, and then another square around the outside. The outer square is our perimeter where the fence is going to be placed surrounding the entire area, just to make sure that no mobs can get in. Okay, so we are now back and we've cleared all the blocks that needed to be replaced with heart tree logs, and we have now placed the heart tree logs. It did take a bit of time clearing out all the blocks, but in a way, because that was our only task at a time, we do one job at a time, it was kind of therapeutic, just removing block by block, and then after all the blocks were removed, I replaced them with heart tree logs, which was also kind of therapeutic and satisfying. The only area that is slightly different is the sheep pen, which can clearly be seen by the patch of dirt and grass placed in. The reason for this is because sheep need grass to grow more wool on their backs, and so if you have them in, say, anything other than grass, they're not going to be able to eat, they're not going to be able to regrow that wool. So basically they become useless if you want to farm them for wool. So you're going to have to kill them and have their offspring grow up with wool. So what I did for that one is I cleared out a level lower. We then placed the level lower full of logs, then placed dirt on top of that, and that will mean that we're still connected to the heart tree, despite it looking like we're not going to be, but we are. And here is another example, given a better explanation of why the grass is completely appropriate within the sheep pen. As you can see, this here is a square of heart tree logs. This is going to represent our animal agriculture area. The level down, as you can see, there's a square in the middle. Half of it is filled with grass blocks, the other half is a level down full of heart tree logs. We're just going to say the heart tree logs for the example. Now the heart tree logs, as you can see, are still connected to the heart tree logs that are a level above. And as you know from the Tree Spirit Challenge rules episode, that was episode 0 if you missed it, to be connected to the heart tree you have to either be standing on top of a heart tree log, or you're standing on a block that is directly connected to a heart tree block. And as you can see, these dirt blocks or these grass blocks have been placed directly onto a layer of heart tree logs, which is what our sheep pen in our world is also like. As you can see, we have grass blocks that are placed on top of that, and because we are standing on top of grass blocks that are on top of or directly touching heart tree logs, it is fine to walk across with this. We are still actually completely connected to the heart tree, and that's what we've done with the sheep pen. So we don't have to worry about not being able to step in there because of fear of not being connected to the heart tree, when we will still be connected to the heart tree, and that's what we've done. Okay, here we are back in the area again, and now it is looking a lot more open, a lot more fresh, a lot more spacious. And as you can see, we have cleared out the remaining dirt and the trees of the area. So now we have a really good idea how big the area is. We can quite clearly see that it is of a good size, that we're going to be able to fit all of the animals in that we are going to be breeding, and all in all, I'm very happy with the dimensions. I don't think it really needs to be any bigger than it is, and I don't think it really needs to be smaller. I think it's just the right size for what we've got planned. Not only that, with the trees, when I cleared them out, of course we had to be careful because they were not descendants of the original heart tree, so none of the saplings or the logs gained could be used to increase the size of our heart tree. So saplings I just put into a composter or threw away, and the heart tree logs I either have put into the furnace fuel or I've just put them into planks. It's something you've got to be careful of, especially with the same wood, because they're spruce trees, and obviously our heart tree is a spruce log. You just got to be careful about how you manage the logs in your inventory. You don't want to start using logs that are not actually legal to be using. But yeah, I'm really happy with how things have gone. It's only a short update since the last time, but it makes a big difference to the area, having it cleared out, open, and pretty much ready for business. Okay, so this is not really anything to do with the episode, but as I did say, we'd probably put in a bit of crop farming for this episode, and I just want to say that my wheat crops have grown. This is really good. Wheat crops are brilliant, especially early game, because we're going to have the wheat seeds, we're going going to have an excess of wheat seeds, which we're going to be able to feed to the chickens to breed them up. I mean, chickens are pretty easy, that once you get them to a certain level, the amount of eggs they'll be producing, you could just carry on continuously throwing eggs at the ground and you will be getting chickens in return. But until then, saplings are a great way to breed them up. Also, the actual wheat crops themselves are great for breeding the sheep and cows, both of which absolutely love this stuff, so that's brilliant for us. And of course, we can make it into bread for our own hunger. The only ones it won't have any effect on is the pigs. This area looks so much better. Look at it. It is finally complete. We have done so much to it. It's come such a long way, and I'm really happy with how things have turned out. As you can see, we have everything fitted. Pretty much the only thing we don't have are the animals themselves. Before we go and grab them, I am going to talk you through a bit what we've done. The first things was, before putting any of the fences up, I wanted to clear a 4-block perimeter around the outside of the animal agriculture area, like we did with the tree farm and the crop farm and everything else we've done thus far. I wanted to make sure that we had some distance between the edge of where the fences were going to go and the dirt blocks and the landscape. Basically, I don't want mobs to be able to climb over the fence because they're dropping down from a higher vantage point via the surrounding landscape, the surrounding terrain. I've explained this before why that is, and I think last episode I had an example with creepers about getting in over the fence, what they could do to you. At least I think it was last episode, or maybe it's an episode to come. I can't really remember at this point, but yeah, it looks a lot better, and that is going to really help safe proof the area. That's one of the ways which we can mob proof the area. The second is that we placed fences around the entire area, so even if a mob can't get in from a higher vantage point, they still can't get in. So yeah, the fences do a great job of keeping mobs out. They can't jump over it, I can't jump over it. It's brilliant. It helps me feel a lot safer, and it's going to protect us from any unwanted visitors. Of course, we also put fences around each of the pens, so of course we have the sheep pen, the chicken pen, the cow pen, the pig pen, and the fences are going to be great for keeping those animals together. You don't want them getting out roaming all over the place. Maybe one day we can have an area like that, but for the time being, having 4 cordoned off pens for each of them is the way to go. As you can see, we also have a double gate system for each of the pens. This is so I can basically get in and out of the pens without the animals themselves getting loose. As we breed up and as they get more and more numerous in number, we are going to find they are going to be pushing up against the edge of the fences, and when we open that gate, they are just going to pour out. So what I'm going to have to do is I go into the first, I enter through the first gate, close it behind me, and then I open the second gate, and that's way if they do come out, do spill out through that second gate, it doesn't particularly matter because we have the first one shut behind us, so they're still within the pen. Then I can do whatever it is I've got to do in there. I can turn around, I can try and get them out. Usually you can hit them out and they will go back in. If there's too many, then you may have to get rid of some. But yeah, having a 2-gate system is the way to go. We also put in a couple of pathways, 2 proper pathways linking to and from the tree farm and crop farm. This means we can get to and from our new animal agriculture area safely, and of course you better believe I put fences around that, and I also cleared a 4-block perimeter like I did with the animal agriculture area. This is great because it means continuous easy access throughout the base. We are keeping that safety in check. We also have gates put at either end of the pathway. This is just for another level of safety, although we do have pressure plates, so if a mob was somehow able to get in, it would still have access to the rest of the base by pressing the pressure plates, but I don't think they'd be able to figure that out. They would just accidentally press on them and then they'd walk through. And of course, the final step to the mob proofing and making sure everything was safe was to light it up with torches. And of course, the torches aren't only to mob proof the area, it does grant us a lot better visibility for the area, and so that's basically what we've done. So now what we've got to do is just go out and get the animals themselves. Alright, so I will meet you back here once we have that. Okay, we are back, and before I give you any of my thoughts on the area, I'm going to quickly go over what has happened. The first things first, we did place chests on the floor outside each of the animal pens, and this is is for convenient storage. You see, we don't have a storage system as such there, and even if we did have a convenient storage system, I prefer placing chests outside of farms so we can place whatever items or blocks we gather from that farm straight into the chest. So we have 2 for the sheep pen, we have I think 3 for the chicken pen, 1 for the pig pen, and 2 for the cow pen. The sheep pen is 1 is for mutton, 1 is for wool, the cow pen is 1 for leather, 1 for raw beef, the chicken pen is for drumsticks or chicken wings or whatever meat they give, 1's for feathers and 1's for eggs. And then the pigs is just a single chest that is for uncooked pork chops, raw pork chops. After we placed them, I was confident to go and get the animals, seeing as that was the only thing left to do. We did have a couple of leads from a passing wandering trader, which he gave us quite nicely, or I took from him. I took them. Alright, I did take the leads, but he was fine with that. He wasn't fine with that, but he couldn't do anything, so they're ours. And because of that, I didn't need to worry about enticing them with crops. I could just go out, attach the leads onto the animals I wanted, and then bring them back to base. Now, as far as how many animals we wanted to go out and gather, I wasn't concerned with getting any more than 2 per species. I mean, that's all you need. Seeing as you only need 2 animals to breed per species, that's all you really do need to go out and collect. So 2 cows, 2 chickens, 2 pigs, 2 sheep. The rest is history, and so it is slow going at the start. You can gather more if you want to, and I could have gathered more if I'd wanted to, but that means numerous journeys, and in the end you're going to get to where you want anyway. Just as long as you're breeding them, actively breeding them up, it's fine, and that's what we will be doing over the coming days and weeks to come. Of course, each of them loved their new home on arrival. I mean, who wouldn't? Wandering around in the wilderness with all the space in the world doesn't really compare to a cooped in animal pen like the ones I've made that have been appropriately lit up and laid out for them. Brilliant. And that's basically what we did since we last left off. So yeah, on my thoughts on the area, I'm really pleased. The area has completely transformed. It is unrecognizable, and this is going to be a massive step up in progression, because that's going to lead us on to getting things like books in the future. We're going to have access to a firework ingredient in many episodes to come. We have access, basically our food situation is really taken care of, so that means that all the crops that once they have been used to, I don't know, breed up the animals, I can then kill the animals and take the food from the raw meat we gather and put it into a furnace. We can cook it, and that's going to keep us fed. Of course, the crop farm does more than a good enough job at keeping us fed. The only problem is it is split between 3 different tasks. It's got to feed the animals, it's got to feed me, and it's got to feed the growing village population. And it is only a small crop farm, so if I can get another food source for myself, then that just takes some of the pressure off, because I prefer to eat bread, and bread does take a lot of wheat. I mean, 64 bread takes what, 3 stacks of 64 wheat, and that's a single harvest at my farm. So that would mean that I couldn't give any bread to the villagers if I did that, and it would also mean I wouldn't be able to give any wheat to the cows or sheep if I did that. But yeah, that's what we've done this episode. I'm happy with what we've done and the progress we've made. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.
Lord, let me get my cash right. I'm trying to fly, still tired from last night. Putting that work in to all of my earthlings. When them haters acting up, gotta give them that act right. Back up on the scene with some flame shit. Different cause